If someone asked you right now, what do you do for fun? And you literally would have no answer, if you've achieved everything on your perfect vision board but still feel empty inside, if you're praying, God, there has to be more than this, then you're about to discover why you're trapped in what I call the achievement validation cycle, and more importantly, exactly how to break free. If you're new here, my name is Coach Megan, and I am extremely passionate about helping women just like you become and unlock the winner within. And so we have been dissecting and researching high achievement for quite literally a decade. As a 2-time former Miss Nebraska myself and a 7-figure entrepreneur, I've become obsessed with this. And so I'm really excited about this episode in particular today, because a lot of you guys have no idea that you are addicted to achievement. And so we're going to talk about this today. I have 3 incredible points to get through. So buckle up. This is going to convict you. So I'm just apologizing, but also not in advance. Okay. So today we're talking about the achievement addiction that is stealing your soul. And again, the achievement validation cycle. Now, before you turn your eyes and ears off and you're like, this is not my problem, or like, oh, achievement validation cycle, that's all I need to know. Now you've identified it. Well, if it was that easy, then y'all wouldn't do pageants for 15 years, first of all. And I've been working with a bunch of new clients, new students in this new brand that we're building, which has just been so awesome and so much fun. And every single one of them, this is just happenstance, I work with entrepreneurs too that have not done pageants, but all of them have previously done pageants. And there's this crazy thing that happens when, and it doesn't just have to be pageants, but I'll use that as an example. There's a crazy thing that happens when, I see this a lot with athletes as well. You build your entire life around being really, really good at this thing. It could be soccer. It could be basketball. It could be modeling. It could be pageants. It could be, like for a family member of mine, it was his academics. And then there comes a time when you finally climb the mountain, climb the mountain, climb the mountain, climb the mountain. And one of a couple things happens. One, you either get to the top of the mountain, you achieve the mountain, you win the thing, only to realize that you didn't bring a parachute with you. And the only next step off the mountain is to step off the mountain and you go boom and you splat because you don't have a parachute with you. Okay. The paradox of this is most people don't realize, I would say 99.9% of people, has been, including myself in the past, don't realize that this is a thing. And they don't have any clue that they need to bring a parachute with them up the mountain. And they think that just when they get to the top of the mountain, because everyone's like, see you at the top, man, see you at the top, it's success, all this stuff. It's like total bro language in my world of entrepreneurship. I've heard it for 10 years. And they don't tell you that when you buy the fancy car, when you buy the fancy house, when you meet the man of your dreams, when you win the pageant, when you reach the 6 figures, you do not feel any different at all. I'll never forget when I made my first 6 figures. And I as a broke barista, when I started my company, I was like, I'm going to be, 6 figures. It's going to change my life. And when I say it didn't change my life at all, literally 0%, it did not. I didn't feel any different than when I was a barista. Now, I had read a bunch of books. I had invested in mentors. I'd worked on myself. But that is what created a lot of the change in my life. Actually achieving the thing it was maybe nice for a second. But also when you hit 6 figures, unless you hit a 6-figure day, and I've come really close to that. That's been really cool. That's a big dopamine hit. And we're going to talk about that. But honestly, so much of progress you work for, so many achievements you work for a really, really long time, that it's crazy. When you hit the thing, maybe you thought graduation from college would feel different, or maybe it was really great. But then the next day that you wake up after that thing, the biggest question that people are asking is, well, what do I do now? Who am I now? And it creates something that I call the identity crisis. And so this is really what I want to lock in and talk about today. And then the second part of the thing when you're going up the mountain is if you don't achieve the thing, right? You don't get to the top of the mountain. You get really close to the top of the mountain. And you can imagine the emotions that happen when you fight so hard, you bring all the right gear, you train for months, and you work super, super, super hard to get up the mountain. And then something happens. You get sick. You trip and break your leg. Your guide gets sick, and your guide is actually the reason why you can't get to the top of the mountain. And you can see it, and you can feel it, and you can taste it, you can smell it. But for some reason, you don't get to the summit of the mountain. Well, that causes a whole other kind of identity crisis, a whole other slew of questions and thoughts and emotions and feelings and all these other things that cause you to jump off the mountain for a different reason. And you either bring a parachute or you don't, right? So with this podcast and really what I do working with high achievers every day is it is my job to help you not only bring a parachute, but also to understand that you need to bring a parachute with you for every achievement that you are working towards. And what kind of parachute, how the heck do I strap a parachute on, what kind of parachute, all these different things. And of course, this is an analogy, but what is this parachute? This parachute is having a proper identity. And that may sound like, oh, well, I've heard that before. I know that. My identity is totally in Christ. Like, thank you so much. Amen. And I'm like, okay, well then, why are you feeling the way that you're feeling? And I'm so passionate about this, and I talk about this, and that I've made an entirely other brand about this, because now coaching for 10 years, so many of the women that I originally coached in pageantry have moved on to different phases of their life. And when we take away this major thing that gave them validation, because part of the achievement validation cycle and the achievement addiction is that their brain is telling them, I am what I do. And the belief shift that I want to invite you to today is that I want to help you realize you are not what you do what you are. I want you to be able to genuinely live that way, where you do what you are not what you do. Because the peril of being what you do means the second that, and this is a major client of mine, Rachel, who was Miss Nebraska last year, her huge testimony, her huge hero's journey story is that when she broke her leg in soccer, it wrecked her because she was Miss Enneagram 3 high achiever all day baby. And the second that achievement was not the way that she could prove, have significance in this world, show up in this world, hold her space in the tribe, in the community, right? Especially as women, we're incredibly tribal, community-oriented women. We like to know where we're at in the pack, right? And so when that area of significance, which is a basic human need, was taken away, all these identity questions started to come up of who the crap am I? What am I doing? And who am I without this gift? Who am I without this achievement? Okay? And so this might be uncomfortably familiar for you right now. And if you haven't personally experienced this yet, then it's coming sometime in the future. So I want to equip you for it. Okay? And here's kind of what this also can sound like in addition to that. So identity crisis trigger number 1 could be like the fun question. And this is when someone asks, what do you do for fun? And you freeze because you're like, I just work 24/7. I don't know. I was watching Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders these 2 seasons. This is an amazing example of this. And granted, if you've watched, if you know, like they should get paid way more for what they do, right? And so their schedules are just nuts during football season. They literally are getting 4 hours of sleep. I'm sure their hormones are off. Their mindsets are off. I would love to work with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. That would be like a dream one day. I'm going to put that out into the universe. But you see how their mental health is suffering. And also, like in season 1 specifically, when they interviewed a bunch of the veterans, they all have they're quintessentially experiencing this after they get done being a DCC. They have their 5 years. It's the greatest time of their life. And then boom, they have this massive identity crash, this massive adrenal crash, their health, they're probably gaining weight because they're not working out at the same rate. Their body, their metabolism is used to a certain rhythm for 5 years. They have to deal with injuries now that they don't have this adrenaline going. And they're like, oh my gosh, I need to get a hip surgery. That's going to cost me money. I'm single because I just used 5 years of my life where I had no time to date, right? Like there are these real life issues that hit people in the face the second that they actually slow down enough to realize it, right? And now this slowing down is a really interesting conversation because you are either slow down intentionally or you're going to be forced to slow down. And some people, it's a forcing of a slowdown where you quite literally are like, crap hits the fan, your face hits the frying pan, and life has to change, right? Like that was an example of that was when Landon got a cancer diagnosis, and me as his wife, I was like, okay, strap in. We have a decision to make, right? That was an oh crap moment. Or another one was when they told us we would never have children. And I was like, okay, I have a decision to make, right? That thrusts you into a season of transition where now you are internalizing a hierarchy of values and beliefs and needs. And so often, because, and I need my chart to show you guys this, actually right here, I have it. Okay, so you guys can't really see this, but there's this beautiful chart. You'll get this when you work with me. And there's 6 sections. Okay, I'm holding this up to the camera. So the bottom 3 sections are at the conscious level. These are things like capabilities, skills, behavior, and your environment. The top 3 levels are purpose, identity, and then beliefs and values. And what happens is other coaches or business coaches or pageant coaches or your soccer coach or whoever, typically they're only trained to even have an awareness at this bottom 3 levels. So capabilities, skills, behaviors, environments. When they try to fix what's going on in you or even identifying is like a large portion of the game. Or even in the conversation that you're having with yourself, maybe you actually realize you have this oh crap moment, this crap hits the fan moment, frying pan to the face. You break your leg. Again, you don't get up the mountain. You get first runner up. You don't get the promotion. You don't get into the college that you want. You don't get into the med school that you want. And all of a sudden, Miss Achiever, whose identity is completely in her achievements, doesn't get what she wants. And you feel paralyzed. You feel out of control. You feel like something's wrong with you. You feel like you have no idea who the crap you are. And you certainly don't have tools in your toolbox to deal with this you know what. And so this identity crisis is thrust upon you. And that brings me to number 2, where the second trigger happens, which is the mirror moment. And this mirror moment is you look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself anymore. And you stare at this woman in the mirror that achieved everything that you wanted or got very, very close, and then something was taken from her. Again, maybe you aged out of a pageant, or you didn't get the promotion, or you got fired from your dream job because maybe you had a death in the family and you had to take some days off and your boss is a terrible person. But point being, you come to Jesus moment of the lowest of the low. I call it the mirror moment, the bathroom floor moment, because that's what it was for me when I looked in the mirror the first time at 19 and I hated what I saw and I didn't know how to achieve my way out of it. And you look in the mirror and it feels like a stranger wearing your face, or it feels like a stranger living in your body. And you're like, I don't know how to just out-effort this feeling. And I want to hold space for that because I want you guys to really, really, really feel this. Okay? Especially for all my pageant queens. If you don't know, I've coached pageant queens for 10 years. Especially for all of you, because at the time of this recording, we're like going into the next season. You cannot build success on this foundation or lack thereof. You can't. And that's identity crisis number 3, which is the empty victory. Okay? The day that you, falling off the mountain, the day that you achieve everything on your vision board, and instead of celebration, you don't feel anything. Or you celebrate for a second, but the next day you wake up and you're like, I thought this would feel different. I thought that this would finally validate me. You feel almost guilty for being ungrateful for all the blessings in your life. But knowing deep down, it feels like unfulfilling. You still have no idea what your purpose is. You still have no idea who you are. You still have no idea what you believe. And you're subconsciously sabotaging and living against your values because you don't even know what those are. And so outwardly, you feel like you have to play dress up and pretend or go achieve the next thing for the next dopamine high, but you have no idea who the crap you are. And this is the achievement validation trap. It's a trap. It's a cycle. And so what I've seen, and again, I'm like, oh, Lord, thank you for this moment. Thank you for giving me a voice for this, because I really do believe that God has given me an anointing and an open door to speak to the world about this right now. And I had to earn even my keep in being able to have authority to speak to you all on this, because I've been through several of these achievement trap cycles for years. I used to get my validation in my achievements. I was the star of the show choir that now is extremely famous and doing extremely well, has a $100,000 budget like per show choir. And I was the lead in every single musical in a high school of 3,000 people. I had a 4.2 GPA. I got into my dream college. All these things. Like I was able to achieve. I won Miss Nebraska on my first try. It was super easy for me. Like all the things I was able to achieve until I couldn't. And then the second that I couldn't, these flooding of questions at an identity level, again, up the pyramid. Up here, I couldn't just fix it with, okay, well, what skills do I need to fix my problem? What behaviors can I change? Do I just need to stop procrastinating or work harder or dive deeper? Do I just need an environment, change where I live, change my friends, change my workplace? This is what most coaches are trying to tell you. And while these are great things, and I work with all of my clients on these things, because you might have crappy friends or a crappy work environment, or you might need more tools in your toolbox and a different skill set to be able to fix yourself. But the identity crisis is living up here at the beliefs and values, identity, and purpose and meaning level. And if you do not get help at the right part of the pyramid, this is why therapy doesn't work for many of you. I would say 100% of my clients that work with me have been in therapy for years. And they said, and I quote, "It feels like I'm paying this person to be friends with me, and I talk at them, and I know nothing about them as a therapist. And it just feels like I'm talking to a wall. And it's a safe space, but it hasn't really gotten me anywhere." And you keep repeating the same behaviors. You keep putting yourself in the same environment. This shows up in relationships. This shows up in your finances. This shows up in your mental health. And I will fight for you to get freedom. Whew. Like, I could cry. I will fight for you to get freedom in this area. But you cannot put new wine in old wineskins or it'll burst. You cannot solve physical things, spiritual problems with physical things. You cannot solve identity, which comes from the Lord. If that is what actually is the pathway to fixing it, you can try everything else in the whole world and it's just not going to fix it, okay? So we'll talk about that in a second, why everything else has failed. But part 2 of this is, why is this validation, why is this achievement and getting validation and achievement such an addiction? Okay, this is part 2. Here is why you can't stop and what's actually happening in your brain. Every achievement gives you a hit of dopamine. Feels awesome, okay? And that's not a bad thing. Like, do I love winning? Every day, all the time? Yes, okay? Down to the outfit that I choose to wear at the gym is intentional, because if it makes me feel hotter, I'm going to work out, I'm going to lift more weight, and progressively over time, I'm going to have a fitter body, which makes my marriage better, which makes my self-confidence better. So achievement is a great thing. Achievement is not a bad thing at all. But having your worth in your achievement, again, thinking I am what I do rather than I do what I am, is the problem that we're fixing here, okay? So it creates a dopamine trap. That's the first thing. And every achievement gives you a hit of dopamine, but the problem is, just like any addiction, which is what it is, you need bigger and bigger wins. I got to get the next high. I got to get the next high. I got to get the next high. Until the day that the validation stops working. Whew. There is a power on this. I feel the anointing on this. This is speaking to some of y'all's souls right now. Please message me, by the way, at Megan Swanson Rhodes on Instagram. Please message me if this is like speaking to your soul down to the depths of your being right now, because I just want to know who I'm talking to. And I know the Lord gave me this word for dozens of you, okay? So come out of the shadows, park your car, stop doing your makeup, whatever you're doing, and I want you to message me right now on Instagram and literally be like, this was for me. Screenshot the YouTube video, screenshot. And yeah, I would love to know if this is for you. Okay. So until the day the validation stops working, and then we ask the question, what do I do? I can't achieve my way out of this, because this is not an achievement issue. It's an I am issue. There's something in my I am level of identity that is inherently false. It's a false belief. Okay. The second reason why this is an addiction is because something that I call the neural pathway prison. Your brain is literally wired itself for external validation. Those neural pathways run automatically. Neurons that fire together, wire together. And that's why willpower and positive thinking will never be enough and are not enough. And then the third reason, which I alluded to earlier, is the faith and values misalignment. So you know that your identity should come from God, in theory. Everybody that works with me is like, I know my identity is off. I know that I feel like a spaghetti mess inside of my head. I know that I have perfectionistic tendencies. I know that I have so much indecision going on. I know that what I'm doing is wrong. I know that I should stop dating this guy. I know that I should stop saying yes to emotionally unavailable men. I know that climbing this corporate ladder, in theory, is not going to make me happy. So why do I keep doing it? And can I just say this as a side? Gosh, this ticks me off. Like, you guys, the millennial generation, I know I have a lot of Gen Zs that listen to me, but like my generation, millennials, were so force-fed this lie that if you climb the corporate ladder, break the glass ceiling, me too, all this stuff is going to make you happy. And it's not. This is what we're talking about. This is toxic femininity, okay? It is so dangerous because here's the deal. Whew, Jesus help me, because I'm speaking to somebody right now. This is going to piss some people off, but it's okay. I love you. When you're 39, 37, 35, and you bought this lie that achieving will make you happy, and now you're 10 years into med school, 10 years into, okay, great, you have your doctorate and you feel important because you got your doctorate. Nothing wrong with getting a doctorate. But now you're 32, 35 years old. You haven't even met your man yet. And you think you want to have 4 kids. But then you're like, okay, I'm going to meet my man. Then I want 2 years of just being single, or, just us without kids. Okay, so it takes me 2 years, if you're lucky, to meet your man. Now you're 34 at best. Then you get married. You want to have 2 years together solo, understandably. So did I. Before you have kids. Now you're 36. And now you want more than one child? Maybe. You're considered a geriatric pregnancy at 35. This is not your feminist podcast. This is Mama Megan getting real with you. Okay? Like, you can build a business. You can build a career. You can do any of that at any time. You cannot have children forever. And it is true that all it takes is one amazing man to make a marriage. I have the best man in the whole world. He's amazing. It only took one. I'm not interested in anyone else on this entire planet ever. Okay? But I'm so glad I met him at 27. And that even felt late. Now, I'm not rushing anybody. Don't marry a loser. Don't marry a medium. Okay? Don't marry just your average t-shirt. Okay? Like, wait for the Gucci suit. I don't even know what that is. Whatever. Okay? Wait for your mans. But also, we have been lied to as high achieving women. We have been lied to. And I will fight to give you the truth that you deserve, because I was with my coach actually a couple weeks ago, who's coached women for 25 years. She's 52. And she said the number one regret, and she's actually like quite progressive, by the way. We have very different beliefs about a lot of things, but it was very interesting how she stood up for this. And I was like low-key shocked. The number one thing that she said that she finds that high achieving women regret is this. They waited way too long saying, I have time to find a partner. And I have time to have kids. And then maybe something was wrong with their hormones. 1 in 4 women now have PCOS. I think a lot of women, you guys have heard me rant about this on the podcast before, right? So maybe it takes a couple years for you to get pregnant. Maybe there's issues. Maybe he has issues, right? Like, there's so many things that when we buy this lie of this achievement addiction and we put other things on the shelf, whereas those things actually have a timeline, achievement does not have a timeline. Ray Kroc built KFC in his 60s. There are actors and actresses that get super famous and have their big break in their late 40s, right? And more every day, by the way. And my point is, I need you to grab a hold of this belief today that if you get to the top of this mountain, what's waiting for you without a parachute of your identity is a cliff. And so my job as a coach, my reason why God put me on this earth is to help guide you through this process to make sure that the entirety of your pyramid is whole and healthy. Because the funny thing is, when this is healthy, you will achieve more success than you could possibly ask, hope, think, or imagine, like Ephesians 3:20 says. But if you have achievement alone, then what's an empty house when you're 45 and you desired children and you've made $3 million? Or you're the number one surgeon or professor or whatever, and yet you don't have family, you don't have people that love you every day, and you have this mourning that now we've got to work on in other sessions because you didn't orient your life actually around your true values. And I'm not saying everybody needs to have kids, by the way. And also, kids don't make your identity. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I will say is you have to be 100% honest with yourself. And what I found is when I'm working with my clients, because they've bought this lie of the achievement addiction, they just aren't even living in honesty with themselves, at all. They're completely living on a different planet in La La Land because they've been so brainwashed to focus on this dream forever that they have no idea who they are outside of this dream, okay? And I refuse, I refuse to let that be you guys. I refuse, because I love you too much and I love you enough to be honest with you, even if it offends you, okay? So I'm not saying that you have to have a life like me at all. If you want to be single the rest of your life and crush it in your career, get down with your bad self. But the fact is, every human on earth still has needs of significance, needs of love and connection, needs of variety and fun, needs of growth and development, right? And so what my specialty is as a coach is I help you look at the whole picture, and we reverse engineer it from what you actually really, even if it's unconsciously desire, so that you can build this life of freedom and contentment and significance, to where you can actually continue to achieve from a place of sustainability and freedom and joy, knowing that you can trust your decisions and you know both the short-term and the long-term implications of what the implications of those decisions are, right? And that's how, with my husband Landon and I need to bring him on the podcast more. I told him today, I was like, babe, I really want to start miking up our dates and showing people the conversations that we have when we like go for drives and we go for walks and we go on dates every week, because they're just like the best conversations ever. And we sharpen each other and we grow and we talk about the tough things that aren't tough because we have conditioned ourselves to just be completely radically open about everything and how we're feeling and what we're doing and what we're working on, and we're a team. And some people have never seen a representation of a healthy marriage or healthy conflict or healthy, just even what sharpening each other looks like in a really fun way. Like we were laying on the bed an hour before this, just talking about some revelation that I had about this, and that really inspired me. And I was like, I'm going to go do a podcast about this. And I was so excited. And then he's going for a walk and our nanny's here. And it's a beautiful life. And I want you to be able to build a life that you love, not just achievements that then are empty on the other side of that. And you realize you're at the top of the mountain and you're alone. Okay, so let's go to the next section of this. And this is why everything that you've tried has failed in the past. Okay, so again, you're climbing the mountain, you're trying things. Well, this get me up the mountain. This will get me up the mountain. This will get me up the mountain. And the funny thing is, you then stand at the top of the mountain realizing like you either don't even want to be there or again, you don't have a parachute. So most people, actually all so far, that have come to me that I'm working with in this area have gone to therapy for years. So the thing that I don't love about therapy, and again, I'm not a mental health practitioner technically, and so I'm not giving you therapy where coaching is different, but therapy exclusively focuses on your past and can't rewire your future. So they give you coping skills. Again, it's not that therapy doesn't work or can't work, but I do think data-wise, there's a reason why so many people come and work with me that have already been in therapy. Okay, so just like take that for what it is. No offense to therapy, but it can't do everything. So back to this pyramid, therapy works in these bottom 3 levels a lot. Okay, now a really good therapist might have you do some beliefs and values discovery and possibly might help you ask a couple questions about identity and purpose. But for the most part, they are letting you talk at them, which is putting you in associated state, which means that you are in the emotion as you're talking about it, which can be really unhealthy because you're re-traumatizing yourself, which, ew, gross, not helpful. So let's talk about your childhood trauma. Let's talk about your addiction to achievement. Let's talk about what this thing means to you, but you're totally associated the whole time. You guys, dangerous, not good, okay? So that's what I don't like about therapy. And then traditional coaching, like life coaching, works in maybe the present, but mostly the future. So let's goal set. What do you want your 5-year plan to be, your 3-year plan to be, all of that. But it doesn't change neural pathways, and also can't work in the past. Like literally they are not licensed to work in the past. So with what I'm licensed in, neurolinguistic programming, as well as life coaching, and then I have 15 years of ministry experience and 10 years of running a 7-figure business, I can work in the past, the present, and the future. And I also can work down to the unconscious level. So we can do things like goal setting. We can get really tactical, practical, which is great. So what are you going to do next week? How are you going to keep your promises to yourself? What are your next 3 steps? I have a 35-day devotional that helps you work through our 5R system, which is rooted, rested, resilient, radiant, and rich. And it's a process that I use to help you stay in motion, even if you're getting 0.01% better every day, and to start to rewire your mind to really think about what progress that you're making and to consider failure as feedback and just really build this beautiful relationship with yourself as you are achieving those goals. We have a way of helping you to set very, very specific goals on a timeline, literally working them through in the conscious and unconscious mind to where it has like an 80% higher success rate of you actually accomplishing these goals, because we call them well-formed outcomes actually. And it's because we get your emotions into it rather than just like writing it on a piece of paper and being like, I want that, and putting it on a vision board, and that doesn't really effectively work. But that's the other problems with traditional coaching is, again, typically they only work in the future. They can't really work in the present very much. And then there are times when I need to work in the past, and we need to go unconscious. We need to say, okay, let's do some inner child work. Let's get rid of some things. Let's pray. Let's do some extracting of the things that we don't want to be a part of our value system or identity or our behaviors, and we can change all of that. And that's the beauty of the modalities that we get to work in. And then again, there is nothing wrong with the last piece of this. Like I hate to say people who just pray about it, because I 100% believe in deliverance, and I 100% believe that prayer alone is all we need when we know how to pray. And so for me as a Christian, I combine all of these modalities together. And at the end of the day, the Holy Spirit supersedes everything, and we let him into the room, and he's able to do what he wants to do. And if God wants to if God wants to solely use prayer as a modality to get rid of some awesome things and reveal some things to you and your identity, then fantastic. We'll use that as well, which is really, really cool. And so, yeah, the missing piece here is like you point blank need to rewire neural pathways that are not working for you, because your brain is autonomously working 99.9% of the time. You have 11 million bits of information. Upon a very recent study, they used to think it was 2 million and then 7 million. Now it's 11 million. 11 million bits of information every second. And your brain understands plus or minus 7 of those things. So anything from 5 to 9 of them. And this is how two people can see a situation. A guy drops a coffee cup in a coffee shop, and two people can witness it and have totally different interpretations of what happened, right? Maybe he bumped into somebody. One person thinks it's this guy's fault. One person thinks this guy was a jerk, and they're both right in their own eyes because they're just eliciting their perception based off what they know in their interior world, right? And so anyways, I could get into that forever, but I'll help you guys with that as well. And that's what I work with my students, is like learning how to massage your thoughts and talk to yourself in a positive way, to like work things out for yourself, to become really self-empowered, to know how to, again, just navigate your own headspace like all the time in your own world in a way that you can coach yourself to be whatever you want to be, and again, continue to achieve at these big levels, but in a way that's sustainable, that your internal world can actually handle and enjoy once you get there, which is brilliant and beautiful. Like one example of that, everyone's, well, you don't remember your wedding day. It goes by so fast. You're not going to remember anything anyway. And I was like, I reject that. I'm a very present and self-aware person. I will remember whatever I want to remember, And so Landon and I talk about that all the time. I'm like, I remember every second of my wedding day, and it was the best day ever. And I was super present. My brain wasn't floating off into space in the future or in the past, or guilt or shame or anxiety. I was like totally at peace, enjoyed the whole freaking day. And guess what? You can do that every day of your life, whether you have a big speech coming up, or whether, again, you have to ask your boss for a raise at your job, or whether you're competing on stage in a pageant or singing the national anthem for something big. Like, it doesn't matter, you guys, but this breaking up with this addiction of achievement and learning how to let your identity flow into that success is actually the pathway to enjoying and achieving more success, which is just so amazing. And so we combine neuroscience with biblical truth and the past, the present, and the future to be able to really get people this incredible breakthrough in a way that is quite simple. I mean, you guys just even learning the pyramid today have walked away with a tool where you're like, oh, that's why therapy hasn't worked. That's why just trying to work harder and gain this skill hasn't worked. Or just, I thought moving would help, or I thought changing schools would help. And it can if the problem is at those levels. But if the problem is locked up in your identity level, it doesn't matter how much coaching you get, it doesn't matter how much work that you do or how many hours that you put in. Again, I think about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, and I think of the one kind of difficult individual. God bless her, by the way. I'm sure she's a nice girl. But Victoria in the first season, whose mom was like living vicariously through her. And she kept asking, like, why don't you see me as a leader? And I don't think the girls like me, but but the little girls like me when I'm a dance teacher, right? So the whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to work on her brain. I would love to work with someone like this because she is the quintessential example of somebody caught in the achievement trap. She is addicted to this achievement and the satisfaction and the significance that comes from being a DCC, but she never did the identity work. And she struggled with eating disorders. She struggled with all these mental health issues, depression, and that's because we didn't work far enough up on the pyramid. It's as plain and simple as that. And you can go to therapy all day, but they're just going to keep telling you, here's some coping skills, here's some behavioral changes, get a good night's sleep, drink water, do these affirmations. But on the unconscious level, so let's just say affirmations, which are I am statements, right? I am beautiful. I love my body. I this, I this, I this. Well, if there's an unconscious level, okay, top of the pyramid, I am that's saying I'm worthless, I'm fat, I'm not good enough. That is going to unconsciously, which is running 99% of your programming, compete with the statements that are saying, I'm beautiful, I'm skinny, I love my body. They're literally fighting with each other 24/7. So until we get rid of this I am, and we do what's called a core state change, and we remove this crap down here, then when they stop fighting with each other, then when you do your affirmations or you go to the gym or you put in a cute workout set, then there's no noise anymore and you can just enjoy. You can enjoy like, I'm going to the gym today. I'm looking kind of hot. This is fun, you know? And I'm a living testimony of this because I used to be 40 pounds overweight, hated my body, had cystic acne manifesting because of how much I hated myself. And I'm a living testimony of what you can do when you just like actually get the crap out. You know, it's kind of like gut health. Like identity work is like gut health. They're like, your gut is one of the greatest indicators actually of mental health. Did you know that? And also, it's like your skin is your biggest organ. Your skin is going to tell you what's going on the inside, right? So a lot of people will get freedom and weight loss and acne and even mental health just by fixing their gut. Like your identity is a lot like that, okay? So what do we do kind of landing the plane here? Like how do we fix this? So we implement what I like to call, it's a working title, this might change, but it really is like the powerhouse operating system. So this is like, how do I become a powerhouse? If a powerhouse was the ultimate, like the whole triangle's filled up with wholeness, yummy goodness, I'm ranking it a 10 and 10, my whole ecosystem of my life feels good. So family feels good, community feels good, spiritual life feels good, health feels good, my fulfillment in my career feels good. I feel like I have purpose and meaning in everything that I'm doing. I have something helping launch me out of bed every day in a way that I'm serving something greater than myself and getting fairly compensated for that. I'm around people that I love. I feel like I'm secure in some kind of a tribe and community. I like the environment that I'm in. I can trust myself and my behavior, my ability to execute. And I also know how to live in the present where I'm not so focused on the future that I can't enjoy the now. Or I'm not living in the past so much, condemning myself for how I acted in the past that I can't enjoy the present and the future. And we do this from both a faith-based as well as a neuroscience-based approach. And it's a really, really simple system. Like there are 5 things I'll have you do every day and you guys can just write these things down. So you'll see this a lot on social media because we're just about to roll this out, but we call it the Power 5. And this is just one thing that I'll have you do. But every day are you putting on your power suit? So this is the self, the persona that you want to show up as in the world, not the one that you're currently feeling like, right? So like, why do I put makeup on today? Why did I wear this nice shirt instead of sweatpants? There's nothing wrong with wearing sweatpants, but I understand that my message is going to be communicated better if I look nice. If I put some lipstick on and a little bit of mascara, I realize that there is a portion of people that will only know, like, and trust me, and I believe I have valuable insights that's going to change their life. But if a tree falls in a forest and no one is there to hear it, doesn't make a sound, well, no one cares because no one's even there to hear it, right? So I want to make sure that I'm a tree that makes a sound and everybody knows it because I believe that this is life-changing information that's going to help you and radically change your life. So I care about that enough to make sure that I'm showing up in the world as the version congruently that I want to be. Now, the interesting thing in working with clients is some of y'all have been wearing a mask that is this perfect polished version of you. and you actually need to like not put makeup on and like go to the gym and go to the coffee shop and feel how it feels. And then we can work together on navigating those emotions of like, okay, why did you feel like you had to put makeup on when you went to a coffee shop? And you actually need to do the reverse of what I need to do, because you are working on authenticity in this season, right? And that's your big thing. So the power suit of authenticity every day. And whereas I'm the opposite, I'm like doing a challenge right now where I'm trying to brush my hair and put makeup on every day. And it is challenging me, but it's good, right? Because I'm trying to go to the next level in something in particular in my life where, et cetera, et cetera. That's it for me, right? So then power suit is number one. Power words is number two. So are you actively speaking life over yourself? Are you actively getting in the word every day? Are you actively rewiring and firing through your mouth the words that you are prophesying over your life? Because you're living in the last 90 days of the words and actions that you've prophesied over your life. Okay. Number three is power moves. So this is taking bold, aligned action, progress over perfection. This could be going to the gym, going for a walk, calling a friend, asking somebody out on a date, whatever it is, but you're taking action and getting into movement again as that ideal self that you're working on. Number four is power reset. So this is my 5R system. The, again, rooted, rested, resilient, radiant, and rich. It's a daily checkout system that you do before bed to check upon how we moved even 0.01% closer toward that ideal identity and powerhouse identity, powerhouse self. And then power up is the last part of this. And this is making sure that you are refueling yourself. You're plugging in the battery to listening to a sermon, listening to a podcast, taking a wealthy person out for dinner and picking their brain, or getting coffee with a friend or a fellow mom at the park, and just filling your cup up with what brings you joy and what enables you to be authentic and to learn and to grow, because growth is a basic human need that we all have, and love and connection. So it kind of combines the two of those, okay? And so when you do these 5 things, it's nearly impossible for you to not take steps towards becoming this powerhouse identity, right? So that's why I call it the powerhouse operating system. The power 5 every single day, and then the 5 R's at night. And it's a really, really simple system. And then what I do and how we really help people transform is, again, we get really, really nitty gritty and specific to help them identify their core triggers, the anchors that we need to remove, the anchors that we need to build into their life, and really help them walk into the next achievement, the goals that they have for themselves, whether that is something public facing or whether that's something in their private life, whether that's something internal, whether it's something external. And we use the pyramid and different patterns that I have in my pocketbook in NLP to literally rewire your identity into a powerhouse one that feels like she can do anything because of who she believes that she is. Not she can do anything because of brute force and strength and because she has to and because her entire world and identity is going to fall apart if she doesn't, right? And so I have a really, really special ask of you guys today, and it is limited spots, limited time only, and this is not a fake urgency thing. By the time that you watch this, it will probably be gone, because we're also sending it to our email list of like 7,000 people. So if you want it, get it while it's hot. I'll give you an analogy of this, and then we'll get into it. So one of my favorite speakers, Myron Golden, gives this example all the time, and he asks for 5 people to come on stage. So pretend we're in a room of 200 people. Okay, imagine we're in a room of 200 people. And in this room of 200 people, he asks 5 people to come on stage. Great. Be bold, take a risk. I need 5 people to take a risk. Some people would never come on because they think they're going to have to like eat something gross, stick their head in a bucket of ice, whatever. They're very risk averse. And some people are more risk tolerant. Okay. So 5 people get on stage, and Myron starts to tell this story of the beauty of people who are early adopters and how early birds always get the worm. He tells this story of how it takes people different lengths of time to say yes to the next version of themselves and to say yes to the future that they want rather than the current state that they have. But the problem of why most people never get the future that they desire is not because it's not possible for them. It's because they are not able to see beyond either their risk tolerance right now and the current emotions that they're feeling, and to take a step even before they believe that. By the way, by taking that step, that is what actually causes the belief to change. and then the belief changes, and then you'll take even more steps, right? But the motion is what changes the emotion. The emotion is not what changes the motion, right? Now, we can do it that way. That's what NLP and unconscious work is for. But for the sake of this argument, that motion of making that decision is what actually hops you off the fence. And I always say there's nothing comfortable about sitting on the fence, to be honest. And that's that like chatter, the radio in your head, what should I do, anxiety. Anxiety comes from a lack of movement. It's because your brain thinks it's stuck and it's constantly going into the future, playing the worst case scenario and then bringing it back to the present and ramming it over you like a cement truck. That's what anxiety is, okay? So the only way to stop doing that is to get in motion and make a decision. Think of it, that's going to make a decision that then takes that cement truck and rewrites the future and rams over the future to change the result, right? And smooth out that fear that's happening. And so as Myron's telling the story, he has a $100 bill, a $50 bill, a $10 bill, and a $5 bill. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a $1 bill in his pocket. 150, 20, 10, 5. That's what he has. So as he's telling the story, he talks about, he's like, if you knew that if you just gave me $100 that you could make $1,000 from that investment, if you gave me $100, and he starts waving the $100 bill. And he's telling the story that he's like, people just don't understand that the early bird is who gets it and is willing to take this opportunity is who will actually ROI the most. The people that wait to take the opportunity and they have to have all the information and they have to be totally certain and they have to ask their parents and they have to ask their spouse and they have to think about it and pray about it and da-da-da-da-da. This person, while they might still have a reward, is going to have a less of a reward because the person who the early bird eats the worm, the person who's willing to take the biggest risk also gets the biggest reward. They also get the most time with the founder. They also get the most one-on-one support. When people join beta programs before they're perfectly fleshed out, yeah, they might have, this automation might have sent you the wrong link or something may not have been perfect, but you're going to get the most face time. You're going to get the most ability to get the biggest transformation before things are scaled and automated. So as he's doing this and he's waving this $100 bill, finally, one of the 5 people get it. And they run up and they snatch the $100 bill out of Myron's hand. And he looks at him and he said, and he smirks at him and he nods his head. And he said, then now he has the $50 bill. And he goes, now, after the early adopters, now the next people, they'll still get a big transformation, but they won't get as big of a transformation because they weren't willing to take nearly as much risk as the first person, right? And somebody else, then he gets it, and the $50 bill person comes up and runs and snatches the $50 bill. Then, takes a little bit longer, the $20 bill person isn't running as fast, comes up, snatches the $20 bill a little bit more carefully, and finally, the last person, $10, and then finally the last person with the $5 almost feels ashamed walking up. And he's, oh, I get it now. And he kind of embarrassingly grabs the $5 bill, kind of looks around, and the whole audience, 195 people, are laughing at him. Imagine. Well, then this magical thing happens. Myron turns to the next guy, and he says, you're laughing at him, but he at least has $5. Y'all have nothing. He at least has $5. Y'all have nothing. And everybody got it in the room. And the point is if you are not willing to invest in yourself, you are the one who ends up with nothing. If you're not willing to take a risk, if you had all the tools, if you knew how to get yourself out of the pickle of this achievement trap, and you knew how to transform yourself, and you're waiting for the perfect day where it's not raining and the stars align and you're looking for a sign and blah, 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 you're putting yourself in a defensive, protective position. Again, the positive intent of that is protection and security, which is great. That's a great thing because you might have been screwed by a past coach, or you might have just invested in something the day before you saw this and you're like, dang it, I wish I would have invested in this and not that. Or you might have a car payment coming up, or I cannot tell you how many times people have invested with me and then, okay, it's like 5, but and then their car will break down the next day and they have to buy a new car, right? And then they externalize the meaning of that and they're like, well, I'm going to have to do this. And again, it's not that circumstances aren't circumstances, but the point is, okay, great. You just handed over the reins to your life again. And this problem is still going to be in your closet. And you can continue to sweep crap in your closet until the closet bursts open one day. Now we have an even bigger problem than when we could have dealt with it in the first place, right? And I'm going to give people who are very serious, who know that they're stuck in this achievement addiction and in this trap, and they want to transform, do something different, be the absolute best version of themselves, and you've been wanting to be coached by me forever and ever. Or you're like, I just got here today. I don't even know how I'm here, but I like your vibe, so I'm going to work with you. Great. My only goal is to get you as much breakthrough as possible. We're going to get clarity about the future that you want. We're going to get clarity about the fears and frustrations that you're feeling right now. We're going to look at, relationships, finances, career, community, all those kinds of things. And we're going to fix your number one issue and give you some massive breakthrough, get you back into momentum, and help you reset that identity so that you can believe I am not what I do, but I do what I am. And so if that sounds like you guys can click the link below. And then if you want an opportunity to continue to work together, because my goal is to absolutely blow your mind with what we're able to get through. And again, I love the people who have been in therapy and they're like, oh my gosh, I just lit $10,000 on fire the last 5 years of therapy. And I'm like, yeah. So it's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun. We're going to have so much fun together. This is the longest podcast ever in a super long time. I put my heart and soul into this, and I hope that I know that you guys got tremendous value out of this. And by the way, if this isn't you, then send this to a friend that you know is stuck in the addiction of achievement. Send this to somebody that you know that this is them. It might be a little side eye where your friend's like, why did they send this to me? But it's okay. Just blame me and be like, Coach Megan told me to send this to somebody that I really, 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 really love. And then they'll get to the end of this and they'll be like, okay, I get it. I get why she sent this to me. I need to sign up for a spot. They're probably gone, but let's try anyway. Maybe we'll do it again, but no promises. So raise your hand for yourself, put yourself first, and we'll see you next week on the pod. Bye.